Raghu Rai has captured India for over 50 years like nobody else. He's quite simply the living legend of Indian photography. His photographs have been published in Time, Life, Geo, The New York Times, The Sunday Times, National Geographic, The New Yorker, besides every major publication in India. He's produced more than 60 books, including Raghu Rai's India, Mother Teresa, The Six, etc. He's won several awards and was also nominated to join Magnum Photos by the legendary Henri Cartier-Bresson. Raghu Rai's photographs capture the soul and spirit of India. They capture intricate and intuitive details. In this show, we're going to look at some of his greatest works with special stories behind them. Raghu Rai is on Our Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. Raghuji, thank you very much for joining us in Our Talk. What makes a great photograph?
Heavy question. An image that has captured the heartbeat and the current of that experience in any given situation of people, of life, of nature. And the moment you see that beat touches you at that current, you get electrified in that moment instantaneously. If it has that energy, that magic, then it's a live, powerful photograph. But if it's just pretty and predictable, then it's all anti-creativity.
Let's look at a powerful photograph of yours of Mother Teresa. She's folding her hands and she appears to be praying. How did you get that?
So that photograph has a very special story about it. And the story goes that I was photographing her for 4 or 5 days. Fourth evening or so, she says, Raghu, you don't come tomorrow? I said, why not, Mother? She says, because tomorrow is an Easter day and we shall be in prayer and I don't want anybody to be walking around me and in that area. So I was devastated. I said, oh my God, that I have done so much and on the last day, this is what Mother tells me. So I thought to myself and I said, Mother, you say 2 things are very important. One is that you do seva. You look after the poorest of the poor, you nurse them, you take care of them. And she says, yes. I said, and second is to rejuvenate yourself, you say that you sit in prayer of the Lord. I said, I have never met who that Lord is. But I know when you sit in prayer, He comes and lands in your eyes. And He's all over on your face. So I said, Mother, I have done half the story. The other half is missing. She said, all right. We can do it with one condition. If you sit at one point and photograph and not move around. I said, yes, Mother. She says, is that a promise? I said, yes, Mother. So I go there next morning, early morning. Oh, she says, oh, you come. Let's go inside the chapel. She takes me in where the prayers are going on. It's a big chapel, about must be 150, 200 sisters praying, and the statue of Christ over there, and a priest. So the hall was full. So Mother sits next to the wall. She tells me to sit next to her, next to the wall. So I sit down like an obedient boy. And then she goes into prayer. She folds her hands very tightly. And then she goes into almost connecting with the Lord. And I am sitting on the side next to the wall. She is facing that side. So it was becoming very, suffocating for me that I can't move. So I struggled and clicked few shots. And eventually I got up. I went right in front of her, quietly, took some pictures, came back. And like this, then, the prayers were getting over, and then all the sisters were going to kiss the feet of the Christ and come out of the chapel. And then Mother gets up. Now, she comes out from the other door, I come out from this door, and I had broken my promise. So I go to Mother, I say, please, Mother, forgive me. I couldn't keep my promise. And I was really I was feeling sad and serious that I couldn't. So mother held my hands. She looked into me, inside me, because that's the kind of look mother used to have. She will not look at you, she will look inside you, who you are. And then she says, oh, God has given you this assignment, you must do it well. And this is a blessing. This is a nature's gift that you get when you make yourself available, 100%.
This photograph is powerful because you can almost see her connecting to God.
Yes, absolutely. The connection, the whole body, every line is connected. All those lines are connected to the Lord. And that's what's so magical about mother and photography.
Well, you can see all the creases, but I find this creases beautiful.
Absolutely.
They show the sacrifices she made.
Absolutely. That's because all the warmth and sunshine that she hides in those lines, which get reflected in her expressions.
Raghuji, you also had special access to Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. You have this wonderful photograph of her in the Himalayas. She's sort of in the dark, you can see her silhouette. What happened?
That was in 1972 when she was going to go to Simla for Simla summit with Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Pakistan's Prime Minister. After the Pakistani army surrendered in Bangladesh, we had 90,000 prisoners of war in India. So he had come to negotiate the release of the prisoners. So Mother Indira Gandhi was going there. And Sharda Prasad was Indira Gandhi's press secretary, a wonderful human being. So I sent him a note saying that, Indiraji, you say that you love the Himalayas and I'm doing a long-term story on you. So it would be nice if I can photograph you in Himalayas. And sure, she gave me the time. So it was in Simla retreat where she was staying. So I go there and she comes out and I begin to photograph her. It's a beautiful garden around that retreat. Mm-hmm. So I begin to photograph and then I stop. So she says, what happened? I said, Indiraji, I'm not getting the picture I wanted. She said, what picture? I said, you say you love Himalayas, so I wanted to get you and the Himalayas. So she says, where is the problem? I said, this wall, parapet wall, which is 3 feet high, it covers half your body. And I don't get the whole figure of the Prime Minister. So she said, what do you want me to do? I said, can you climb this wall? So comes the chair. Mrs. Gandhi climbs the chair. I hold her hand. She goes up climbs the wall. And then she begins to walk. And then I get her whole figure against the Himalayas and dark clouds and everything. But what was so special, that while she was walking, her hand is in this mudra form. She was walking like this. I didn't tell her to do that. She was so conscious how she was being photographed, especially in these kind of situations where it was one-on-one.
You have this photograph of her in her office in Parliament House. Mm. There's a delegation of senior congressmen standing around her. Yeah. She's on the desk reading and signing some papers. Yeah. What does this photograph say to you?
So I was spending a day with Indira Gandhi. And so these congressmen from Gujarat, senior congressmen, they come. And they all stand around her. So I decide to go behind her while she was looking at the letter. I'm standing right behind her, over her almost. She says, I hope you're not reading my letter. I said, no, Indiraji, when I'm photographing, I can't hear. I don't read. I don't hear. I only see. So she's all right. So all these congressmen and everybody waiting. And they also said she was the only person in Congress who had the balls. And they all wait like obedient servants,
She was the only man in her cabinet.
That's
and this is what's coming around in this photograph.
Yeah, man in the cabinet who could do anything to the cabinet.
They used to say that about Margaret Thatcher as well.
Yeah, But she came later, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Raghuji, I love this photograph of yours of Churchgate station in Mumbai. You know, there's crowds and there's chaos, and then there are these men reading newspapers over there.
Yeah. So I go to the Churchgate railway station early in the morning, 8 o'clock, when there are thousands of commuters come on these local trains. And I stand there and I watch. Thousands of these commuters come down and they disappear within less than a minute. The railway station is clean again because everybody is rushing to their respective work and they are in a hurry. So another train comes, in fact 2 trains come, one on left, one on right platform, and thousands of commuters come and disappear. So I am standing there amazed. I say, how do I do that? So I put my camera on top of this box, give it time exposure. Why? Because if the shutter is open, then that human deluge, people moving, there'll be movement.
You can capture the motion.
Motion, you can capture the motion. So the train is sharp, the train on the other side is sharp, the platform is sharp, and these thousands of commuters on slow shutter speed, they are like a human deluge. But the people, it was early morning, people sitting on the benches reading newspapers, morning papers, they are not moving. So they are sharp, and that is what is adding to the experience of that human deluge.
Look at the expression of these people reading the newspapers.
Yeah.
They couldn't care less.
Yeah, couldn't care less. Because
This
it goes on every
is
day
India.
of it. Yeah, it goes on every minute of it for them. So it's nothing new. But for me, it was an amazing experience. My God, you know. So, you know, you see, the important part is that you must inhale and experience what is precious. And then reflect it in most visual, truthful form.
Then you have this photograph of tangawalas and chaos on the street in Old Delhi. I mean, this is organized chaos.
Yeah, beautifully organized chaos. No, you see, this is one of my very early photographs in my first year of photography. I see tongas, rickshaws, cyclists, pushcarts, everybody crisscrossing each other, and pedestrians, and it was endless affair going on in all directions. And I think there is a constable standing on the spot in the center, but even he is lost and he's not controlling it anymore. You see, the purpose of photography is to capture the time we live in, because that is going to be the photo history of tomorrow, the visual history of tomorrow. So this picture was taken almost 50 years ago. And now you go back to those situations that I have photographed, they don't exist anymore the same way. The pace has changed, the chaos has changed, everything is different today. So this is the purpose of photography, you know, which is very precious for me.
Raghuji, what happens when you look through a lens at the world outside? What's happening inside you?
It's not about ideas and concepts. Because many smart ideas, many smart news stories are there in this world. But they are all doable and predictable. And when you begin to live and experience beyond your own ideas and concept, then nature offers you something unique. So what is happening inside me is very simple. The sensor of my heart has to be clean, honest, and reflective. I am not thinking of anything. I am just trying to feel the experience and the feeling or the vibrations or the energy that is being exuberated in that space. And then I respond to that energy, that feeling that gets reflected through the sensor, so that you are a clean mirror to the situation.
Raghuji, you have a lovely photograph of Gangotri. It's aesthetically very nicely composed.
I reached Gangotri and I checked into a hotel which was right across Ganga. And morning when I get up, I open because I could hear the noise of the water falling. It's a huge, fall in Gangotri itself, where the Ganga falls about 30, 40 feet down and then begins to flow again through the rocks. So I was getting that sound early in the morning, so I got up. And as I walked out, I saw this unbelievable Ganga falling down in splash. And then I see, this gorge, beautiful gorge, and there's a little man sitting there and meditating. So I composed my picture of this man over there and this huge Ganga falling down and muddy splash in the space. And I said, yes, interesting. I took some pictures and I said, not satisfying. You see, when you try to connect and wait, then nature sends you a gift. I wanted something else in my space. And then this side in the gorge is the man sitting there and sunshine falling. This is the Ganga falling, and this side of the rock was empty. Now, empty spaces, they become meaningless. So I said, what do I do? And then comes a little pigeon, sits there on this side of the rock. I take some pictures. I say, not enough. Then that pigeon turns his head towards this side, where the man is sitting. These little connections, resonance, connections, dynamism of forms and relationships, they come together.
Raghuji, you have another brilliant composition. You have a panorama of old Delhi, and then you find this woman offering namaz over there.
So I was near the steps of Jama Masjid taking some pictures, and I saw somebody, in kurta pajama, khadi kurta pajama, looking like a leader. He comes to me. He says, sir, I see you taking photographs all the time. What are you really trying to do here? I said, I'm doing a book on Delhi. So this part is very special to me. He says, really? He says, my name is Saeed. I'm an MLA here. He says, come, I'll show you something unique. You won't believe it. So I said, where? He says, come to my house, just 200 meters away from here. And he takes me right on the rooftop, where I see the top of all the houses there, and then the Jama Masjid over there, and there were some clouds in the evening. They were moving up. And then it was almost becoming dark. I must have spent more than 3 hours. And I must have taken many pictures. But I was not satisfied. I said, yaar, मैंने सब कुछ किया, लेकिन कुछ खास नहीं हुआ. You see, then nature has gifts for everybody if you make yourself available, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So as I was about to step down across their house, the other house, I saw it was evening time, the lights had come on, and the Jama Masjid and the dark clouds, and there was a lady praying in the room, and she had turned on the light. So in that light, in that house opposite, there was this woman praying, and the Jama Masjid, and the whole city, and the clouds. What more do you want? These are the gifts of nature, if you are ready to receive. And this is what is, so meaningful about life.
Raghuji, your photographs are remarkable because you capture the soul and the spirit of India. How are you able to do that?
मेरे पास एक दिल्ली तो है यार, that I don't have to borrow. It's always there. So when I move with my camera, my heart moves ahead of me to see and experience and to receive. मैं दिल की आंख से देखता हूँ.
And Raghuji, you moved the heart and the soul and the conscience of India and the world with your photographs of the Bhopal gas tragedy. Your photograph of the child with eyes open being buried became a symbol of the tragedy. But let's talk about your picture of the fetuses. What's the story over there?
You see, that Bhopal gas tragedy, this child being buried was a very touching and moving because it was a tender, gentle little boy and with the eyes open. And that touches the hearts of everybody who sees these, bhula bhala sa, nanna sa bachcha being buried. But then, after about 18 years, Greenpeace International, they came to me and they said, we are doing a big story, we want to do a big story and exhibition on the ongoing tragedy of Bhopal gas victims. You see, people who inhaled enough gas, they were lucky. Why? Because they died instantaneously. And those who inhaled less gas, their lungs are affected, their heart has got damage, and they are dying a slow death, or they have developed cancer and various problems. So we met the doctor, Dr. Satpathy, who was in charge of Hamidia Hospital, the biggest hospital in Bhopal at that time, and all the sick and dying people were being brought to Hamidia Hospital. So we met this doctor, and in the moment of conversation, he told us, in fact, the women who were full pregnant, on that night, and they were running for their lives, they got aborted on the way. And the fetuses were picked up by us later on. I said, really? And where are they? He says, we preserved them because we performed tests on them. What kind of poison was this that had killed the people, and this gas that caused so many deaths. So I saw at least 7 or 8 little unborn fetuses in these jars kept there. And they were so moving because some child is like this, some child is like that. And you can see that expression of death on their face.
Raghuji, let's take a little break. When we come back, we look at one more famous photograph of yours, a fun photograph. India's greatest photographer, Raghu Rai, is on our talk. We'll be right back on the show. Welcome back. You're watching Our Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. The godfather of Indian photography, Raghu Rai, is on the show. Raghuji, you were going to an akhara in Paharganj, Delhi. What happened over there?
I was driving towards Paharganj, and on the right-hand side, I saw a gate in strong blue background, and there were 2 wrestlers wrestling on that image painted on the big gate of this akhara. So I said, that looks very fascinating. So I stopped my car on the one side, and then I walked across, and as I pushed open the gate, I saw young wrestlers practicing inside. So I didn't go inside. I took several pictures where I could relate the forms and the bodies of the image on the gate and the young people who were practicing inside, where I could get the arm of the image on the gate and the arm of the wrestler inside continuing in the same action or something like that. So it became very funny, very humorous, but so colorful, dramatically colorful.
Raghuji, you've captured India for 50 years, more than 50 years now. You've put together visual history of the country like nobody else has.
For all these years, more than 40 years, I have concentrated in my own country. And I feel in my lifetime, if I can capture and record these moments of transition and happenings while I am here on this planet, that I live enough that at least I'll feel fulfilled soul that I have done, captured मतलब नहीं कैप्चर क्या, अब तो इट हैज़ कम टू द पॉइंट, इट्स अ दर्शन ऑफ माई कंट्री, दैट आई लव माई कंट्री सो मच दैट उसके दर्शन में मैंने जितना आनंद पाया है उसको कैप्चर करके शेयर करूं.
Raghuji, this is wonderful and you are wonderful. Thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you.
us on our tour.
It's over good, very good.